Yo guys, I'm back. So yeah, we are back playing Katawa Shoujo and whatever, all that stuff. So let's just continue. The loud clatter of books falling into the return slot abruptly breaks the grip of silence over the school library. It becomes a habit for me to become or to come to the library at least once a week. Not only does the reading itself keep me busy, but discussing books with Hanako and Lily also does. Obviously startled, Yuko suddenly twists towards the direction of the noise. I'd have thought her used to people dropping books by now, since she does work here. Oh, hello, Hisao. Back again? It takes me a moment to respond. My mind still distracted by the familiar melody of Lily's humming that's hardly left my ears in the several days it's been since I fell asleep to it. Oh yeah, just returning some books I borrowed. She casts her eyes downwards, presumably to the bin and books dropped into. You're a very heavy reader, aren't you? It's become a bit of a routine. Passes the time at least. I wish I had free time to pass. When I go to the library, I get like a lot of books, and they're all manga, so I finish them really quickly. From small talk to depression in less than 5 seconds, I think that's a new record for her. She seems a bit down in general today, even compared to normal. Considering she has to work 2 jobs to support herself, I could see how that would take a toll on her lifestyle. Come to think of it, the pay for her job here can't be all that bad. The idea of staff in such a prestigious private school going hungry strikes me as counterintuitive. Working 2 jobs must take a lot of time. I'd probably never manage it. You're lucky being a student. You're lucky being a student. Do you think you'll be able to go to university? If she's asking, then I guess that's the expected result of having this kind of education. Private schools like this don't exactly come cheap. I guess I have the money, I think. I've got plans which will require going to one, and my grades are good enough. It's more a matter of how I'll pay to do so. University costs so much that I'm having to work 2 jobs to afford to enter it. Paying for daily expenses to make it a lot harder. If you're reading this much, though, that means you're doing well in school, right? Oh yeah, so I've been thinking about college a lot because, I need to go. Or I'm approaching the time where whatever. I'm almost done with high school. So I'm thinking of college a lot. And yeah. A college I'm planning on going to is one called I think it's UTRGV. Yeah, UTRGV. It's in Texas, because that's where I am located. So that's a college I'm thinking of going. Another one I wanted to go to was one up in Dallas, because it was an acting specific college. But UTRGV would be cheaper to go to because it's a public college, I think. And also, there'd be something with, considering how much my dad makes and stuff, it's like there's something that goes along with that, so yeah. Whatever. Interesting logical jump. Not an altogether wrong one, though. I suppose so. I don't find any of the exams very hard, aside from maybe 1 or 2. Do you mind if I ask what studies you're pursuing in university? Yuko appears to genuinely brighten to the question. Anthropology, to be specific. I specialize in the history of classical era, Athenian civilization and democracy. So, like, the ultimate anthropologist from frickin' Danganronpa 3. What was his name again? Korekyo, right? Shinaguchi? Is that what his name was? Yeah. She really seems to know her stuff. Such enthusiasm is to be admired, and it's nice to see her genuinely excited about something. I guess even somebody like Yuko can be happy if she has a visible road ahead of her. Whoa, I didn't get to read that. Both of us jump at the sudden interruption coming from my pocket. Apologizing profusely and quickly shuffling into the hallway as I fumble with the cover of my mobile phone, I glance at the screen. Weird, it's a mobile number I don't recognize. Considering I can count the number of people with my number on one hand, I briefly wonder whether it's some telemarketer that... Okay. Hello, Hisao Nakai speaking. Geez, pick up faster next time. Anyway, guess who? It only takes me a second to recognize the distinctly deep, brusque voice. Hey! Or, hey Misha, didn't expect you to call me. Huh? You actually think I sound like her? Okay, so that was Akari. Not at all Akari. I don't remember giving you my number though, so I thought I'd mess with you. Oh, that. I got Lily to give it to me. Not hard. She positively brims with pride at the statement. She's trying to get me caught up in her pace, I know it. I suppose I should be surprised that the two would share my number, though, given how close they are. So what's up? You free right now? I guess. Why? Could you meet me at the park in town? I just want to talk to you about some stuff. Is that an invitation to a date? What? Of course not! She sounds suddenly crestfallen. Her previous teasing nature having instantaneously left. It seems strange for her. Anyway, I don't see why not. What do you want to meet? Kind of now-ish. Wait, right now? But it's... The dead silence suddenly coming from the phone announces the fact that she has unceremoniously hung up. For a long time, I just stand there, staring at the call ended message on the screen while replaying the conversation in my head. What the hell, Akari? It takes only a couple of seconds to spot her, waiting on a bench with a can of beer in her hand. The look she gives me as I walk up lacks any hint of acknowledgement or greeting. What's with that look? I needn't have come, you know. She didn't tell you everything, though, did she? It was pretty brief. Your parents live in Scotland, she hasn't met them since she was 12, and she wants to meet them again. It's always surprised me how devoted she is to our parents, for all the good they did us. The way she says it sounds almost derisive. She gives a small sigh, as if to quickly brush the feelings away. Why do you think they left, Hisao? Why do I think they left? From what Lily told me, it was because of work. I guess a pretty decently paying job was involved as well, given the way your parents seem to live. So Lily went to a private school, and that's why she carried herself with the airs and graces of the upper class. Yeah, since the business in Inverness boomed, our father decided to move directly to the same city as its headquarters. That's just the conclusion I thought you'd come to, though. You're too good-natured. You don't think they left for their career? I'm sitting here bitching to you about it. What do you think? Yamaku Academy, I've always felt that place was kind of creepy. Like it was an isolated hideaway for those proper society doesn't want to see nor hear. They probably just rue the fact that Lily wasn't old enough to be shoved there by the time they left. A long silence follows her abrupt and very harsh criticism of her own parents and Yamaku. Lily's blindness is hardly something that could be simply ignored for a high-class family attempting to keep up appearances. much less so when a lucrative offer is on the table. Eventually, Akari gives a derisive snort, her feelings coming to a head, or heat, I don't know. Moving to secure our financial future with his job posting, even at the time, I hardly believed it. Not wanting to simply be an avenue for her venting, I gently tried to steer the discussion. So you stayed in Japan with Lily then? Either I stayed with her or she went to live with an ailing grandmother and grandfather. What about Shizune's family? If you're cousins, then our fathers hate each other. I'd have been more than happy to tell them to go screw themselves and live with them anyway, but Lily wouldn't have wanted that. I'd also have an offer for a job by then, so we did our best to keep our parents' house in proper shape and try to continue our lives as if they never left. So you just lived by yourselves? Basically, Lily had school and I had my job. So we weren't exactly languishing. With her schooling, her studies have been her study and having to do chores while I work, though I can't help feeling like I failed her. In the end, I tried to be there for her and screwed it up. Expecting a 19-year-old to be a mother for a blind child is ridiculous. So Lily and Akari lived alone after their parents moved. With Lily largely taking care of herself, I guess that explains her apparent independence compared to many in Yamaku. I may have lived alone much of the time since my parents both worked, but that's just something else entirely. Sorry for making you listen to my moaning, Hisao. I don't mind it at all, but do you mind if I ask why you're telling me all this? You always were curious. Context, I suppose. Life isn't a fairy tale, Hisao. Some people have to learn that the hard way. She takes a long drink from the can in her hand. Her face becomes more depressed than distant. I broke up with my boyfriend a few days ago. After I leave, we're not going to be able to see each other again. But that's how life is. You can't just set your life up and expect it to stay that way forever. Sometimes stuff happens that you have to roll with, even if it means hurting yourself or others. She takes a long breath before looking up at the bright orange sky. Damn, if I smoked, I could take a nice long drag right about now and look kind of cool. I want to respond to help her in whatever way I can, but I feel utterly useless. This kind of situation is one I have never been in, and I simply don't have the experience to say anything meaningful to comfort her. Akari looks over and evidently picks up on this, much to my embarrassment. I must look pretty pathetic right now, whining about this to someone I barely know. Hardly, and I'm pretty much an expert on looking pathetic. She gives a chuckle, the act feeling like a personal victory for me. You're a good kid, Hisao. When I said that I approved of you being with my sister, I wasn't joking or just being nice. She picks herself up off the seat with a grunt, one that seems ill-fitting given her age, and throws the now empty can into the bin after one last swig. It's just unfortunate that doesn't really count for much in this world. When I said that I was leaving for Scotland, I was doing it because of a good position opening up in our company's headquarters. When our folks told me that when we were at their place, though, they also gave Lily a summons to rejoin them in Inverness. No way. Her evasiveness when asked about her future, that awkwardness that had steadily grown between us, that uncharacteristic outburst of anger, all of them suddenly fit into place. The same family that she reminisced about after Hanako's birthday party. The same family that left her and Akari to themselves after taking flight to greener pastures. Now I feel stupid for never cornering Lily on what was bugging her. I never even considered if something had happened during her trip to her family's home at Inverness. And now a sense of unease grows in my chest. If her family has summoned her to join them in Scotland, all the way on the other side of the earth, has she accepted? Lily hasn't told me whether she plans to accept, and it seems she hasn't told you either. That's why I called you down here to talk, Hisao. Context, huh? I sit back, my feelings of worry and frustration no doubt written all over my face. Lily's a strong person, Hisao, but not infallible, I guess. I guess it's my job to worry about her, being her older sister, but I think that you deserve to know. I understand. You okay? You sound depressed. No, I'm just thinking. That's good. Thinking is good. Being rash won't get you anywhere. She looks at her watch, barely moving her wrist. I've got to go. Will you be okay? I'll be fine, don't worry. I'll have to talk to Lily about it and get everything sorted out. She gives a smile, but it doesn't feel all that genuine or sincere. Really, both of us are dancing around the fact that Lily's on the precipice of the biggest decision of her life and is trying to take the entire burden on herself. And part of that burden is the matter of our relationship. By the time I look up, Akari's already walking off with her hand held up. For the first time in a long while, I finally have an answer to something. Perhaps not even that, but at least I now have the right question to ask. Will you leave or stay? You seem quiet today, Hisao. Really? You seem so enthusiastic about taking me out on a date. I'd assume you had something specific you wanted to do. No, not really. Just wanted to spend some time with you. Is that so? Fine, there's one thing. A little grin finds its way onto Lily's face, her knowing full well that she's bested me. It makes what I want to say all the more awkward. It was just Akari and I were talking. Oh, what's with that tone? You two do seem to get on well, don't you? Well, I do think she's a pretty cool person to talk with. It'd be nice if any of the teachers were anything like her. Cool. For a moment, I try to place her tone of voice, my mouth curling into a smirk as I realize it. You're not jealous, are you? I'm not jealous. After her teasing me over such a thing, on our first date, I don't feel too bad having a little laugh at our expense this time around. As we settle down, though, it's only a minor distraction from the real point of why I brought Lily here. Don't worry, it was mostly just everyday stuff. That said, there was something Akari mentioned that I wanted to talk to you about. When you went to see your family in Inverness a while back, she said. Akari told you about my family's summons, hasn't she? Seconds tick by while I tried to read Lily's face, an odd mixture of feelings written on it. She seems annoyed, but also somewhat confused. Here. Yuko tentatively slides our drinks onto the table, her presence oddly small. As she walks back to the counter after a quick polite nod, I realize the air between me and Lily is thick, and our expressions are both somewhat pensive. Even though she said I should lead my own life, she still interferes at the worst times. I don't think you should blame Akari here. She's just looking out for you, and it's not like I can't understand her concern over this. Lily's irritation gives way to an awkward and largely unsuccessful attempt to mask her feelings. She really doesn't deal well with being concerned on personal topics. I know, but I just wanted some more time. I knew you'd have figured it out eventually, but you were initially hiding this from me. For how long were you planning to do so? As I said, I simply wanted more time to think it through. I wanted to be sure of my decision before telling you. What did you decide to do in the end? I know what I want her to say, but an awful feeling refuses to leave my gut. My family does dearly want me to return to them, and Akari will be going as well. I could still teach as a career, whether it be here or there. So you're going? How long have you known? I already know you were asked when you first went to Scotland about a month ago. Some time. My frustration very nearly boils over. The fact that she's done this affects me more than it should. For her to not only be leaving, but to have been actively hiding her own plans from me, and after seeming for so long to be the one solid pillar of support and reliability I could depend on. It feels as if the foundation underneath me is suddenly shifting drastically, much faster than I can adapt to. Perhaps this isn't so much frustration as sheer unease. Lily. I'm sorry, I wanted to think this through completely. I wasn't trying to take advantage of you, please. I know, Lily, I know. This is just really sudden. I guess this means that once you go, we'll be breaking up? For one of the few times I've seen since I met her, she's genuinely lost for words. She doesn't look surprised, no doubt because the fact had dawned on her when she became sure of her decision. But rather, she appears genuinely unsure of how to deal with the situation now that it's in front of her. We could try pursuing a long-distance relationship. They're getting more and more common these days, after all. Even as she says it, the tone of her voice gives away that she doesn't truly believe what she's saying. Lily is far too old-fashioned to be able to cope with a relationship without any kind of physical presence. And even I am. To an extent, all we would ever be to each other would be a voice from the other side of the world. In the end, trying to rationalize everything is futile. An attempt to try and connect what's happening what's happening with the future or past just seems to get more difficult the more I concentrate. Those quiet moments when we just walk side by side, the precious time we spent with Hanako and Akari, the casual chatter we had during lunchtimes, the times we made love, the confessions of our feelings to each other. All pointless, all just a fleeting moment in your young lives. We're just two children pretending to be adults, aren't we? A long, long silence hangs in the air between us. The noise of the other patrons drinking and talking only makes the situation feel more strange and disconnected. Lily's face remains low, her dejected expression clouding it. I'm sorry, Hisao. A simple agony and no more. She's left entirely without any further response or comment. With a long sigh, I gather what's left of my thoughts and ask the final question I have for her. When will you be going? I'll be leaving with Akari, so it'll be a little less than a week. The beginning of summer holidays. Just a little afterwards, yes. Her tone is usually slow and steady. Her apologetic and depressed mood all the more written on her face as she tries to hide it in her voice. In the end, I can't even keep my promise of going to Tanabata with her before she leaves. I look down, seeing my face reflected in the by now lukewarm cup of neglected tea sitting in front of me. I really thought I'd left this kind of expression behind. For a while, I just stared down into the still surface, trying to sort through my emotions to get at what course of action I should take, whether it be right now or in the future. But just as before, the effort is wasted. I glance up to see Lily gently sipping her cooled tea without complaint. Her face drawn and shoulders slumped, she looks to be deep in thought. So strangely cold. She looks to be deep in thought too. A strangely cold atmosphere coming between us as we isolate ourselves to mull things over. Even as Lily's cup slowly empties, mine remains untouched. It's a long time before I notice the rain dying down outside, and the few other patrons of the Shanghai have left. The chill of the rapidly darkening evening perimeters the dormitory hallways. While trudging down the corridor to my room, I see an unwelcome movement from up ahead. Sure enough, the opening of the door opposite mine heralds the arrival of a bespectacled Kenji. Hey man, what's... Whoa, dude, you look awful. I think. You okay? He really has a knack for making any situation better. I don't really want to go into this. It's late. Okay, that's cool. If you ever want to talk about it, here. I look at him for a moment before surrendering my stern frown and awkwardly scratching the back of my neck, embarrassed by my standoffish response to him. Thanks, Kenji. Hey, it's cool. That's what friends are for, right? Yeah, you're right. See ya. I opened the door to my own dorm room and closed it behind me as he quickly waves me off. The solid thud the door makes against the doorframe sounds out a final call for the life I've lived since coming to Yamaku. I just stand in my darkened room, fruitlessly attempting to work out what I should do from the point onwards. What should I do? Wow. It's like, that stuff that happens in movies and stuff like that, like the one person runs when they're about to take off on the plane and shit like that, runs to them and shit, says some words and, stuff happens. Hey Misha, Shizune, what's up? Well, Shik-chan and I were thinking, since we're just two poor little girls that need help with all the work we've been given just before the holidays begin. Sure, I can help. But Hik-chan, we're really What? I think I broke Misha. Even Shizune raises an eyebrow at her accomplice's shuddering stop in her tracks. So you help us, Hik-chan? I just said I would, didn't I? It's hardly like I have anything better to do. Maybe helping them with their work will help take my mind off the situation. Misha seems genuinely ecstatic with my response, but Shizune's expression is clouded and difficult to read. I found myself quickly averting my eyes from her own, as it almost looks like a face of pity. No doubt it must just be my imagination. This is hardly the first time I've been in the student council room. Indeed, I found myself down here often, either to help Lily with class rep work or to sort out the one thing or another with the student council itself. Now, though, it's quite a different place. Papers and folders are strewn across every table in the room. Only a solitary little black laptop atop a single desk sticking out from the mess. It looks positively ancient, and I guess it has been valiantly serving its task in archiving information for years and years. So needs doing this? Okay, whatever. Shizune's expression becomes determined as she signs. It's a worrying look. Everything, Hik-chan. My worry was well placed. Everything, you say. What's left on the desk is what needs to be done. It all needs to be digitally recorded, which is what the laptop is for. And I'm guessing that I'll be the one doing this. Sure, whatever. Shik-chan says she saw you with the computers in the library a few days ago, and that you seem really good with them. Good with computers. I can touch type, I guess, but it still seems like an overestimate of my skill. I was just typing up homework. Wait, Shizune was watching me do that? Why do you look so, happy? So, one must know their abilities before they can know their enemies, of course. Wow, that's pretty wise. For once, it's not very hard to work out who said what. Nonetheless, it doesn't seem worth fighting over. Sitting at a computer doing some typing hardly seems onerous as far as tasks to help Shizune and Misha go. Besides, it will help to take your mind off things. Take my mind off things? Take my mind off what things? Misha's face goes blank, and she translates this for Shizune, though the latter's response is only to glance away towards the window after briefly signing. Misha's face quickly returns to a smile as she translates back. She was confused, I guess, but Shizune is harder to pin down. I was just thinking you may like to get your mind off the exams, of course. Either way, we may as well get into it sooner rather than later. I'll go along with you. That's the spirit, Hik-chan. My idle curiosity is ended abruptly as 3 light taps can be heard rapping on the door. Misha quickly skips over to check who it is, tapping Shizune's shoulder on the way past to let her companion know what's happening. Ah, you're here! Who is it? With a slight pause to enter Shizune's data into the file along with all the others, I look up to check who's at the door. Yep, it's Lily. Lily? After giving a cursory nod to Misha in greeting, she perks her head up in her trademark manner. Is that Hisao? She's pretty darn good at working out my voice from the smallest of phrases nowadays. Yeah, it's me. Hey. The atmosphere feels slightly awkward as she bows. Neither of us knows quite how intimate we should be around each other, given she's leaving in just a matter of hours. This is a fact that thankfully neither the oblivious Misha nor the hard-working Shizune pick up on. So you've got work to do as well. Unfortunately, I arrived as soon as I could, but my class held me up with a surprise farewell party, and I had to get changed. I glanced down at the laptop's clock. It's pretty much the end of lunchtime, so I'm guessing Lily managed to wrangle the last period off as well. I take it Shizune is here as well? Of course. And I've been here during all of lunchtime as well. That last comment was really not needed. Shizune's baiting Lily into another argument. I can feel it. I'm sorry, I can't be as hardworking as you, Shizune. I'll endeavor to hire more lackeys to do my work in future, I assure you. And Lily just took the bait, escalating things further. But aren't you the one always outsourcing work to your classmates? The difference is that they choose to help, unlike your tyrannical grip on your own class. tyranny works. Even if we did things differently, we still got the same result, right? This is school, not a police station. You will have to remind me when you were appointed class monarch, I'm afraid. You have to seize power. It's not as good if it's just handed to you, but I guess you wouldn't really understand that, right? You also have to remind me when monarchs were elected into their positions. Lily positively bristles at this. Shizune's two-hit combo forces her onto defense. Yet, for all your vaunted power, you cannot get one person to help you without forcing him. But he volunteered. He's such a hard worker. He's doing this instead of meaningless socialization, right? Is that so, Hisao? This is bad. I've really ended up between a rock and a hard place. As much as it pains me to do this, the truth has at least a chance of stopping this argument here and now. It's okay, Lily. They did harass me to come here, or anything. Lily gives me a disapproving grimace, silently radiating her strong feelings of displeasure in my general direction. She can be quite scary when she wants to be, though thankfully that isn't often. Hik-chan, you make that sound like it's a regular occurrence. It isn't. It isn't? In the end, it doesn't matter so long as everything's getting done at a good pace. Let's just get this work over with so we can go home. Shizune snorts derisively and gets back to marking off the sheets in front of her. But Lily sighs and gives her way along the room with her hand following the filing cabinet lined along the wall. This would mark the only time I've managed to successfully defuse one of these situations. But the grudging ceasefire built around mutual fear and respect makes this feel more like the Cold War than any real peace. I can't take all the credit though. Lily's leaving has surely affected Shizune to some extent, to make her give up so easily. Moments before getting back to my work, I noticed Lily reaching to grab something from above a filing cabinet. I almost offered to help, but her height gives her ample ability to take it down safely. Once she sets the strangely shaped device on the desk behind me, I realize just what it is, sort of, as she takes the old green covering off and sits down. What? At first glance, it seems to be an old metallic blue typewriter, but it doesn't take me long to realize it's far from ordinary. It has far fewer keys than expected, and those it has shows no lettering printed on them. Only the shadows cast by the tiny braille dots on them gives a hint to the thing's purpose. Blind typewriter? Oh, this. Well, you're not far off. It's normally called a Perkins Brailler, but it's basically a typewriter for the blind, yes. It presses braille into the pages rather than text, which is why it has fewer keys. Huh? That's really neat. She gives a light-hearted grin at my curiosity over it. I have to admit that it appeals to my sense of novelty. Without further ado, we each get back to our allotted tasks. The loud clunking of the mechanics in Lily's brailler and the tapping of the laptop's old and weary keyboard quickly fills the room. It's a nice atmosphere, really. Everyone knows what they have to do, and Lily and I get to sit beside each other and exchange the odd word as we work away. Nostalgic, that's what it feels like. It's pleasant, but just slightly stained with the knowledge that our time together is nearing its end. Excuse me, Misha? To properly address her, Misha bounces over from the filing cabinet she's peering into. In spite of Lily's lack of sight, for a moment, I think it's strange, but then realize it's exactly what I do. What's up? Could you ask Shizune where the attendance records for Class 3-2 are? I think they've been moved. Okie dokie. And with that, she filters off to Shizune, who's working at a table behind us. Lily's familiarity with the council room and the efficiency with which she works reminds me that she, Misha, and Shizune used to all work together in the student council. Maybe this is a fitting end for her stay in Yamaku, working away just like she used to, surrounded by those she loves, and at least liked. I look up, getting taken off guard by Shizune sorting through a drawer, rather than Misha. Sure enough, she plucks out a manila folder, entirely blank save for the just barely visible bumps on its front, and holds it in front of Lily. Lily's hands fit over it to check what it is. Her fingers feel out the dots of braille and confirming it's what she asked for. Thank you, Misha. No reply. No reply, that is safe for an odd grin. No smile on Shizune's face. Okay. It's another picture. Nice. Those are papers, not a manila folder, bro. Why is Shizune just holding them like that, bro? What the heck? A couple of seconds pass before Lily clicks that it isn't Misha behind her, but Shizune. Her momentary look of surprise is replaced by a slight bashful smile. For a moment, the room is all but still and silent. Eventually, though, Shizune strides back to her workstation and Lily begins typing once again. It only lasted a handful of seconds in all, but it feels like years of communication were made up for in that one silent exchange. They're finished. I lean my head back and rub my eyes to try and work away their weariness. Staring at that small and rather poor screen has taken its toll. Excellent timing. The only thing left is to file these anyway, and I'll have my workload finished as well. Good, I can pack up the brailler and put it away while you do that. Thank you, Hisao. Misha and Misha, are you and Shizune far from being done? I look around for the two as I replace the cover over the brailler, only to see them waiting at the door. I guess they must be waiting for us. With a minimum of wasted time, we file and pack up everything that remains and join them. Thanks for waiting, you two. We couldn't just take off without you, Hiki-chan. You've been a great help. Shizune nods approvingly, pleased with my efforts. I guess that's the last class representative work done and over with then. That's right. I'll miss you, Lily. I think it was fun working with you. Thank you, Misha. It's been good working with you and Shizune. Shizune thinks for a moment before formulating her response. It's not that she often communicates without thinking, quite the opposite. But this time, it's even more considered than usual. Misha looks a little surprised before passing on the message. Shizune says you'd better do your work over there better than you did it here. Far from taking offense, Lily giggles into her hand. If that's the case, then please tell Shizune to give those still here a little more understanding in the future. Competitive until the last. Maybe Shizune and Lily aren't so different after all. Shik-chan says that she'll be checking to make sure you live up to your end of the promise. Then Then that's how it will be. I'd better be off then. Goodbye, Shizune. Goodbye, Misha. Hisao. Lily takes a hold of my arm in hers. There being no need for a cane if I'm here to guide her. With a nod of farewell to the two, we set off out the door and make our way to the school grounds. As I turn to wave goodbye to them, I notice Shizune's gaze lingering on Lily. They may annoy each other, but family bonds aren't easily broken. Got all your papers sorted then? Yes, they've all been filled out and handed in. On top of things as well, aren't you? Okay. She gives an earnest smile at the compliment, but it feels as if her happiness is just a veneer over the fact that she's fully aware of how much she's leaving behind. It reminds me of how she was like when I first met her. Always smiling, always that little bit aloof, always that little distant away from everybody. Even now, she still maintains the air around many others, especially those still not close to. I had hoped that our time together would have changed that fact. Even now, she still maintains the air around. Oh, it went back. Okay, our pace slows. The two of us coming to a halt in the all but empty school gardens. Hisao, is something the... Lily's words are cut short as I turn and wrap my arms around her, pulling her tight. I may not usually be given to such impulsive action, but I just want to be close to her, even if it's the last time I'll be able to. All the other students have retreated to their dormitories and homes, only the ruffling of leaves in the breeze making any sound whatsoever. As I draw back, I can see she has dropped her carefully maintained smile. Her hands hesitates, wanting neither to leave nor to stay on my features. She is putting up a brave show, but her slight trembling gives her away. Lily may be able to control herself well, but even she can't hold her composure together now. This is the woman I've come to love, but also the one who is all too short a time will leave the country together. I'm sorry, Hisao. It's okay, you've got your own life to lead after all. We walk up the hallway to the girls' dormitory, hand in hand, our emotions by now largely quelled. Nevertheless, our hands grip each other's much more tightly than before. Faint, muffled voices can be heard from Lily's room, the origins of which aren't difficult to guess. The moment she opens the door, Hanako bursts through and wraps her arms around Lily, taking her very obviously by surprise. Lily! Hanako? I'm going to miss you, Lily. As expected, she's on the verge of tears. Lily gently rubs Hanako's hair with her hand. In response, then pulls back and gives a warm, reassuring smile. Looking beyond Hanako, Akari can be seen getting up from the side of Lily's bed and scratching her head. Her eyes turn from Lily and Hanako to me, a stilted, weak smile hanging on her face. I tried to return a more genuinely happy look, but the result is probably just the same. So everything said, managed to hold back from killing Shizune? The comments draw an amused giggle from her sister. Yes, I have everything in order, and yes, I managed not to. Have you packed everything you need? Got the 2 bags right here, but there's still some stuff left at the Hakamichi's home. I can pick that up while we wait there for tomorrow evening's flight, though. Akari gives the 2 large black traveling bags on the floor a hearty pat. She probably came to help pack and make sure everything was in order on Lily's end before going together with her. Lily, will you be okay over there? I'll be alright, I assure you. I'll have Akari looking after me as well, and you know that she's reliable. But don't worry, Hanako. I have your phone number after all, so we can stay in touch. With Akari's help, I could send you things over the internet as well. Hey, don't use me just because you won't learn to use a computer. I was like, why couldn't you have finished high school first? You're like so close to finishing, okay? It's like that, it's like right there. You're almost done. So why couldn't you have finished that first? And then leave. Hanako and Lily both giggle briefly, the mood lightening ever so little. That goes for you too, though, Hisao. I promise I'll contact you once I'm in Scotland. I know I'll be looking forward to it. Her offer may be kind, but we both know that this is tantamount to breaking up. Oh, Jesus. Almost fell. Neither of us has an illusion as to how well we'd manage to lose distance. How well we'd manage a long-distance relationship. With nary a word of prompting, the four of us began the long, solemn walk to the school gate. I kinda did a long-distance relationship. It kinda count. It's not really long distance because we technically live in the same city. It's just we got together before Corona, so we couldn't really see each other. So yeah. So we messaged online. And yeah, the numerous lamps scattered around the Yamaku grounds failed to do much more than provide pinpoints of light in an otherwise dense darkness. A car parked on the road just outside, and the school grounds come into view. Its shining black exterior reflecting the dimly lit lamps of Yamaku. I call out to Akari in an effort to alleviate a bit the heavy atmosphere. That your car? What kind is it? Don't know much about cars. Do you? It's Lancer Evo, solid and speedy. Well, it's not as if her comment on my knowledge is off the mark. I've never really taken an interest in them. She gives a small sigh. She's been good. Pity to have to part with it tomorrow. Just like the summer house. You guys were the last to visit it before it changed its hands. Turning back from my rather faulty attempt at small talk, I glance at Hanako and Lily and follow behind us. Okay. By rights, Hanako should be leading Lily, but it's rather definitely the other way around as she clings tightly to Lily's arm. It's a depressing sight. So I guess this is it. Indeed. Although the time for everyone to say their farewells is now, nobody really wants to take the first step. It's as if the longer nobody speaks, the better the chances of them simply not leaving. Lily, do you really have to go? I'm sorry, Hanako, I won't be leaving you forever, though. I can still call you. Hisao will still be here as well. I nod, but Hanako just clutches all the tighter to Lily's arms. After spending so long without anyone to call family, it must be excruciating to have to say goodbye to the one person that was as close to a mother as anyone could have been in her life. Lily lets out a long, sad breath. All Akari and I can really do is stand by quietly on the sidelines, since the only person that can solve this would be Lily herself. Eventually, Lily pulls her arms from Hanako's grip and holds both of her shoulders. Gently, much more decisive way of addressing than I've ever seen Lily take with her. Hanako, remember when we first met? When you entered my room for the first time after overhearing my consoling of a friend, you didn't say a single word for the entire night. Even as I poured you tea and talked, you sat silently and simply listened to what I said. It took many quiet meetings like that before you began to open up to me. But as you began to, I felt some of the happiest moments I've ever felt. I didn't become your friend because I pitied you, Hanako. I became your friend because I knew you were hiding not just from me, but from everyone. Your ambitions, personality, interests, tastes, I didn't know any of them, and neither did anybody else. As you showed yourself to me, I began to realize the person that you were, and became sure that our meeting was a very special moment. But Lily cuts her words short as she brings her hand to Hanako's head and brushes her bangs to the side, gently pressing her lips to Hanako's forehead. As she puts her head back, leaving Hanako all but speechless and her eyes moist, Lily beams a wide smile. I believe you are a very beautiful person, Hanako, and I am certain that you will become a strong and confident woman. You are a very dear friend and someone whom I love very much. Just like Hisao, I will never forget you for as long as I live. I may be leaving, but you have your own life here to lead. Just as I do, you have your own friends and hobbies and your own hopes after graduation. I want you to devote yourself to them, even after I'm not around anymore. That is why I think you'll be okay, because you are your own self. With your own life, you yourself provided that to me. Hanako lowers her head in embarrassment, but nods as she does so. I understand. I know I have to say goodbye. I know you have to go your own way. But thank you, Lily, for everything. Thank you, Hanako. Will you be okay? There are a few seconds of silence before the answer comes. I will. Lily smiles, undoubtedly at least partially in relief. That makes me very happy then. Goodbye. Goodbye, Lily. And farewell to you as well, Hisao. Goodbye, I'll miss you. She pauses for a moment before walking up to me. Her right hand, outstretched in front of her, takes a hold of my shoulder. Her left hand slowly and daintily reaches towards my face, taking my cheek in her palm. For a while, she simply holds my face, her fingers just slightly moving to take in its contours. Usually her hand would be warm when doing such a thing, but the night's air given her skin a cool edge. I'm not sure how long we stay like this. Her clouded eyes pointed just below my own as she wears a wistful, almost distant smile. Eventually, though, I take her cold hand in mine. It's difficult to do so, but with a slight sigh, I gently remove her hand from my cheek. I hope you have a long and happy life, Lily, no matter where you might go. Thank you, I'll make sure to. She takes a long, trembling breath before turning slightly towards Akari's direction. Akari? Okay. With a nod, she takes Lily's hand and begins to guide her to the car, parked outside the gates. They both walk slowly and deliberately as if their movements had been rehearsed in advance. It's strange to feel like this now, watching somebody leave Yamaku. The feeling of unease I have now reminds me of the first time I walked through those black wrought iron gates that always looked far too pompous for what they were. As they leave, all of us know full well that our lives are irreversibly changing. I've always told myself that I just have to take life as it comes, but everything changes so fast, so suddenly. In the end, Lily's an irreplaceable part of the lives of both Hanako and me. The noise of Akari opening the passenger door for Lily brings me out of my thoughts, her hand waving back as Lily gets in. See ya, guys. Take care of yourself. Goodbye, Hanako. Goodbye, Hisao. Hanako's hand quickly shoots up, her face brightened by her enthusiastic farewell. Goodbye, Lily. Goodbye. See you, Akari, and goodbye, Lily. The door shuts as we all put on our best happy farewell faces. Akari getting in the car herself and starting it up in short measure. Lily's hand can just be seen waving through tinted windows, both of our hands waving high as well. Just every other time I've done such thing, I can't quite work out precisely why I or Hanako wave to her, given that she'd never see us doing so. But it doesn't matter. Even after that black shiny car goes down the hill and disappears into the dark night, we carry on waving and seeing Akari and Lily off, and then they're gone. A strange stillness takes over as our other hands return to our sides. I don't quite know what I should do or how I should feel. In the end, we just stand there, silently staring down at where the car disappeared from sight. Goodbye, Lily. All I can do in response to her quiet, mournful goodbye is to place a hand on her shoulder. She looks at me for a few moments before looking back down the hill, secure in the knowledge that I'm still around her. What we'll do from now doesn't seem all that uncertain. We all have our own ambitions now, just as Lily said. But even so, it feels like there's a certain missing part in both our lives now, something that can never be replaced. Dude. Dude. That would be a perfect end to the episode, but I kind of want to go through one more chapter, I guess I don't know if you'd call it a chapter. I'm just gonna call it a chapter because, like, there's acts. We're on the 4th act, I believe. And so I'm just assuming that every day, or every time that, like, the Katawa Shoujo logo appears, that's like a start of another chapter. So that's what I'm just going to call it. So I'm gonna do one more chapter or so. Or, maybe finish the last 4 chapters. The snap of my mobile phone closing contrasts with the ambient chatter and noise, audible even in the hallway outside the library. It's the first day of the summer holidays, a time that has perpetually seemed so far away, and yet it's now not only here, but also made painfully obvious by the students, or lack thereof, left in the school. Most students have returned home to spend the holidays and with relatives by now. The few that are left are mostly chatting between themselves, usually about what they intend to do in the coming weeks. It makes me feel like the odd one out for taking advantage of the school library being open for the first several days of the holidays. Ostensibly for the students to drop off any books they have borrowed and have yet to return, and for those who will have their parents pick them up to help pass the time until they get whisked away. Thanks to the recent lengthy phone call from my parents, which had so rudely woke me from my sleeping on my beanbag, At the back of the library, I'm now in the latter category. Sliding my phone back into my pocket, this time remembering to set it to silent, I go back into the quiet and wholly placid room. Hey, Hanako. Yeah? Still going ahead with your idea of traveling? She gives a determined nod. I'll be starting in a day or two. Naomi's decided to come with me too. Wow, quick start. Where are you two headed first? I think we're going to start by going north, then loop down and go southward. So Hokkaido's going to be first. She gives another nod, more attentive than the last. The significance of that place is not lost on either of us. Do you know how you're going to handle the traveling expenses and accommodations? I've worked everything out. I think it should be okay. Naomi says she has her side worked out too. You know that if you need anything, you can just call, right? I gave you my number before. Any time of the day is fine. She gives a smile, which in itself feels like a simple or a small personal victory. I know. Thanks, Hisao. Maybe Lily was right. Although I may offer Hanako any help I can possibly give, I feel as if I know she doesn't need it. She really has grown. Hanako's plans for her holidays are in sharp contrast to my simple followings of my parents' suggestion to stay with them. Holidays had always made me feel less excited than most. So maybe this is just a return to the status quo. Before my heart attack, I had always lived so aimlessly that holidays weren't all that much different from my everyday life anyway. After school, I'd wander around a bit in the city, often hanging out with some friends before making my way home to eat dinner with usually one of my parents, but rarely both. Their work schedules didn't leave much time for them to be home, and going there straight from school would just have meant I'd end up feeling bored. I was in urbanity through and through. Since coming to Yamaku, though, it feels like I've fundamentally changed as a person. The phone call with my parents erased all the traces of doubt I might have held on that in any case. Well, before I had exercised a fairly normal level of independence for a teenager, that being not a whole lot, my parents were more than pleased to hear of my newfound ability in taking care of myself. Laundry, cooking for myself, cleaning, all in addition to other general chores that come from living without parents around. Just little things I had to pick up, but with relative ease. When I think about it, I'd always depended on them, even if they hadn't been at home all the time. To say I never depended on anyone after moving to Yamaku dormitories would be far from the truth, though. Excuse me. The two of us look up at the awkwardly fidgeting figure in front of us. Something never changes. It's getting close to closing time, so, Alright, I've forgotten that the library closes earlier during the holidays. Hanako and I both get up and dust ourselves off, placing our books back on the shelves behind us. The fact that our tastes in reading material have a fair amount of overlap is useful at times. With a bow to Yuko to apologize for taking so much time, Hanako takes her leave of us. See you tomorrow, Hisao. Bye. And with that, she walks out of the large wooden aging doors that herald the entrance to the library. She's a quiet person, isn't she? I suppose I should be surprised at a staff member sharing personal opinions like that. But after knowing Yuko for a while, it's largely expected. Our relationship is more personal rather than one with her acting as an authority figure. Never. There's no ending with Yuko. Yeah, I think that's just how she is. She's got a lot more confidence in herself these days, though. I don't know her as well as you do, but I think I agree. It's nice to see her talking to people here. She never used to do that before. Hey, Yuko, you know about Lily's leaving, right? She told me herself a few days ago it must be hard leaving everyone behind like she is. She quickly looks back to me after she says this, probably remembering that I went to her for advice on the relationship between Lily and me. Are you going to be okay? That's a difficult question. It's something I'd rather not think about for now. Though, given my pressing issues, something seems kind of off about this whole deal, don't you think? Yuko appears to think for a while, absent-mindedly scrunching her face up in a variety of creative ways as she does so. I don't think I really know her well enough to make that kind of judgment. Okay. I have hair on my face. I'm sorry, I can't be more help. No, that's fine. I'm just sort of thinking aloud. I give a deep sigh and scratch my head in frustration. There's just so much stuff happening at once that I have no control over. It feels like I'm being swamped. I think everyone goes through times like that. What's important is it concentrates on what you can do, rather than what you can't do. At least that's how I see it. If I didn't think like that, I don't think I'd be able to manage myself or my life as it is. She says it with a smile and a light tone, but her words are far from any kind of joke. Being pulled between two jobs as she is, just to hopefully make enough money not only to live, but also for university must be exhausting. Perhaps that's why coming from her, this feels like it has more meaning than if it had come from most others. I guess you've got a point there. Thank you for your advice once again, Yuko. She bows deeply and smiles again, before making her way to the counter where she spends so much of her time. The tiny wings on the cardboard crane in my fingers are only just visible in the dim light of my room. Just a little of the moonlight being able to peek through the curtains and around their edges. I lie still in my dark bed for a long time, idly looking up at the little origami bird. It feels like a lot happened since Lily folded this, but at the same time, it feels like very little has changed. Compared to everyone else, I'm back to square one. I might have a newfound idea of where I want to go in life, but that's hardly something that affects me now. Hanako changed, I know that much. If anything, it just makes me feel like I've got no excuse to be like this, considering her previous situation. Lily, though. I turn the bird in my fingers, another way looking at it from yet another angle. When I first met her, she seems aloof, and perhaps somewhat distant. Her actions were always careful, measured and precise, and her carefully maintained composure always gave the appearance of an unerring confidence and serenity. In time, she became less formal, just a bit, but enough. It felt good to see her lowering her inhibitions around me and opening up, even just a little, of her own accord. It feels as if I was seeing her real self slowly become more vibrant and visible. Now, though, I'm beginning to have doubts. Perhaps they're to be expected after what is effectively the two of us breaking up. They don't feel now or strange, though, but rather like an old book being found and dusted off. I soon realized after meeting Lily that she saw me as she did Hanako, as someone who needed help and care. At first, I simply thought that we'd be fine as friends, helping each other through our limited time together in school. But then I began to treasure our moments together more and more. From our quiet walks to our talk over lunch, the good sides of her personality became even more obvious and even more likable. The absence caused by Lily's trip to Scotland to visit her long-distant family and sick aunt only made me realize how much I liked just being around her, and I had thought that she felt the same. She felt a similar way. For her, though, maybe that wasn't everything to our relationship. Even after she returned to Japan, that just meant she lost her family once again, after meeting them for such a brief time. She lived so much for her life without her family around, not to mention with Akari working long hours that she had little choice but to be like that. So for me, I would not choose family, okay? I had thought her sense of independence to be a good and admirable trait. It was in stark difference to my reliance on my parents before my heart attack, as reluctant as I may have been to admit it. However, it also meant that she never let people get too close to her. She lost her family, likely due to her blindness, went to a different school from anybody she knew because of it, and worked all the harder to make sure she didn't end up a burden on her sister and those around her. And now Akari's going to Inverness, just like the family she thought she'd lost. She never told me of her plans, and conflicted as she was about them. Lily didn't want to be a burden on anyone, including me. I'm an idiot. I never questioned it. I never tried to be there or ask when she needed me to. I just set up my life and expected it to stay that way forever, with the two of us having a nice long relationship where we push forward towards our future together. A small pit of frustration and anger at myself wells up in my chest. I just let everything happen, never even tried to help Lily. Just her being there was enough. I thought I could keep going on if that were true. But that could never have been enough. It was a childlike dependence on somebody, without an attempt to understand or help their situation. Thanks to that, I lost Lily. I lost the one person I loved most because I wasn't there for her when she needed me. With an increasingly angry feeling washing over me, I turn over and set the crane back on the desk next to my clock, the place where it has lived since that day when she folded it for me. Since that day when she herself said that my burdens needed to be my own. The obnoxious bright red numerals of my alarm clock shine through the darkness of the room onto my tired eyes. 10 o'clock evening. Curfew will be soon. I wonder. Akari mentioned they'd be leaving this evening. I've no idea exactly when their flight is, but that means there's a chance, however small, that they might not have already left. Adrenaline starts moving through my body as I sit up on my bed, my eyes suddenly wide with possibility. There's no guarantee they haven't left. Indeed, it's likely that they already have, but there's also a chance they haven't, however small it may be. Just this once, just as I should have been before, I stand up and rush over to my cabinet, throwing out some clothes as fast as I can and sliding them on in quick succession. Each second that goes by is it's a second that I can't regain. A second that may mean the difference between catching them and losing them forever. Even if I fail, I have to try. I can't let her leave everything behind without even trying to stop her, without just this once being there for her. With the last of my clothes slipped on, I hastily grabbed the phone off my desk. Luckily, the number for a local taxi company is still in my call history. A gruff, unenthusiastic voice announces the name of the company while I pace around the room. It takes some effort to slow down my voice and keep it clear over the phone. The chilly night air sweeps against me as I open the dormitory door, but nevertheless I kept up my brisk speed as I half jog, half run out the school gates. See, look, I predicted it. I predicted it earlier. It may not be a curfew just yet, but it's precariously close. If there were a guard around, they'd no doubt have some questions for me. But it looks like I've managed to come out just before they arrived, or they're around a corner. My pace picks up as I make my way through the school gardens. Their nighttime allure all but lost when I began to run to the school gates. The lamp of the courtyard dim as they are, provide just enough illumination to light the way and prevent me from tripping over. The buildings themselves take on a rustic, almost antique looking edge when I glance at them. Looking back, it seems strange that they once appeared so dark and looming to me. Now they just look to be somewhat anachronistic. Somewhat anachronistic school building, the same as any other others bar their age. Okay. Leaving the gates behind me, I pull up to a stop just before the taxi, parked just as Akari's car had been. Its gaudy and brightly lit sign looks out of place in the quiet country backdrop. I impatiently squeeze myself through the door, giving the driver the address where the two should hopefully be staying. By the time the taxi pulls up after its trip at maidenly casual speed, it's well and truly deep into the night. The house is truly enormous, its sheer size much larger than I'd expected. And ominously still fearing the worst, I ask the driver to stay just in case my efforts are for naught. A single press of the fancy intercom system outside the gate produces a short electronic melody in the otherwise silent road. It's not long before a somewhat deep, gruff voice can be heard from it. "This is the Hakamichi's residence. Please state your name and why you're bothering us this late." I press on despite inwardly wincing at the reasonable annoyance audible in his voice. "It's Hisamnake. I was hoping to meet Lily and Akari if they're still here." Surprisingly, I managed to summon quite some energy to my voice, enough to make the other side of the intercom silent. A few seconds pass, but just before I press the button again and ask what's going on, a light turns on outside the front door. I strain my eyes to try and make out who is coming through, but as he comes past a large parked car with fishing rods sticking out the back, his identity becomes clear. His face is typically placid and emotionless as he saunters up to the gate. He's still childlike in his mannerisms by his demeanor, With the press of a few buttons from behind the fence, the gate slowly opens. Oh, okay. What are you doing, Hideaki? Hisao, what are you doing here? I think this is the most emotion I've ever heard from his voice. Not that it would be hard to reach that mark. Akari told me that she and Lily would be staying here before they left for their flight. I need to talk to Lily just one last time. Are they still here? The look on his face says everything. I failed. I was too late. The one time when I actually needed to act quickly and... Actually, it's possible. What? What is? He's a bit taken aback by my fervor, but I can't help it at this point. They left not long ago, only a few minutes before you arrived, in fact. If you go straight to the airport, you might be able to, Hisao. I dart back towards the waiting taxi, grabbing what little money I left in my pocket as I go. Thanks, Hideaki. With that, I take a seat, and in a short order, bark out my destination. Dude, my chest beats wildly as I tear down the streets. My body twisting this way and that to slip between the pedestrians walking back and forth beside me. Why is there so much people? It's nighttime. With the road solidly blocked by taxis and other cars, dropping off passengers and picking up others in the time they have to wait, we ended up having to stop almost a block away. But that's in the past now. What matters is reaching Lily. One foot hits the ground, the other quickly follows without the slightest thought. As my legs have taken on a life of their own, and all my mind can do is concentrate on the view ahead of me. Just one glimpse of that long hair of hers, that long yellow hair, that was the same color as the wheat that stretched as far as the eyes could see. In the end, I depended on Lily, just as Hanako did. Even after we started going out, it still doesn't feel like she really ever let herself depend on me. Except for one moment, that one moment where we held each other tightly on that bright yellow field. At that time, she must have feared losing me, just as she did everyone else. That's why, just this once. The night air wraps around me, draining every last remnant of warmth out of my body, to the extent that we feel like it feels like midwinter than a summer night. My fingers, my hands, my feet, they all feel increasingly cold. The sound of the passing crowds is reduced to no more than a background hum, while the sound of my shoes hitting the pavement echoes loudly. Every step surging towards the person I have to catch. Forced by my chest tightening in response to the cold of the night, I rest my arm over it to try and settle it down. Oh no. When the airport comes into view, though, I realize this feeling as one I felt before. Not now, of all the times for this. Please, not now. I take a gulp and soldier on regardless. Push my body as far as it would go. A sweat pours off me as I hurtle forward, my shoulders hitting someone's side as my mind suddenly flooding with emotions and memories. I continue on without an apology. I have to keep moving on. I have to keep moving now. If I stop, I'm not sure I could begin again. And even if I could, it would be all for naught if I'm not in time. I hit another person, then another, offering little resistance to getting bounced about. My feet feel numb, my arms are losing all feeling, my chest forces me to hunch over awkwardly, tightening even more. This afternoon in the snow, that time when my life irreversibly changed, images of Iwanako and the damned letter flash over and over in my mind. The first love I'd lost thanks to my condition. I can't let that happen again. I don't care what happens to me anymore. I just need to see her one last time. There. Oh. It's Lily. It's Lily, guys. A sliver of yellow and white comes into view some distance down the road. Her figure silhouetted by the lights emanating from the airport entrance. Lily! Lily! Lily, stop! Please, Lily! Come on, Lily, I know you're hearing far beyond Gah! My view suddenly spins out of control and ends up on the ground. My body haphazardly sprawled after hitting someone and stumbling over. Before I can assess the damage, an unbelievable pain ignites in my body. All my thoughts are blanked as I curl up and frantically clutch at my chest. Hey, are you okay? That was a really bad fall. This pain, I can't. Any sharp knock could do me in. Any overexertion. I thought I could overcome my limits this once. Something's wrong with him. What's the matter? The voices of those gathering around me are gradually replaced by a loud ringing in my ears. By now, I'm unable to move my head. My eyes turn upwards to see the mute moving of their lips. Oh no. Even as I clutch my chest, I realize I can't feel my fingers anymore, nor my feet. It feels like my entire body is shutting down, starting from my extremities. With one last effort, I turn my head down the road towards the airport entrance that's casting its light over me. Lily is there behind the crowd. Her head is tilted, but only just slightly. I can feel my vision dimmed as I try to yell out, but nothing emerges from my mouth. Despite my best efforts, slowly but surely my vision begins to black out, and black out the scene before me. So this is how it ends. I failed. So close. So very close. But at the very last moment, my condition seized my chance at a new life and dragged me back. Now I'm going to die, sprawled out just meters from an airport, with a crowd of babbling people surrounding me, and with Lily leaving for Scotland just a little distance ahead. Lily. The last word extinguishes the last of my energy. The world falls into a deep, inescapable blackness as every muscle in my body shuts down. I'm sorry, Lily. I was too late. Dude, what is happening right now? But guys, I'm going to end it here. Yeah, you're guys, you're gonna have to wait for 2 episodes. I'm gonna record the second video immediately after this one. We're gonna have to wait 2 days. Basically, right? 2 days is the right amount, right? So I upload this on, like, let's say a Tuesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday. 2 days. Left off there. Let me just look at the the library real quick. Lily. We're so close. The last 3. We're almost done, guys. We're gonna finish it next video. Lily's path. I don't know what's going on, dude. This episode was this wild. But guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Peace out and bye-bye.